This is the face of Fu Manchu. La da dee.
I think in Manhattan, Chinatown, a lot of the tourism, like the surface stuff of like who is this directed to? It's directed to tourists and to Chinese people. Like that's really apparent in the businesses and what streets look like in Canal Street, in the signs that say like Little Italy and Welcome to Chinatown. Like announce that you're in this designated ethnic area. Yeah.
So maybe Chinatown has a more close relationship with how the American society works, like
How it sees Chinese people and Chineseness, and Chinese space, definitely. I think it reflects that, yeah. If you look at restaurants, are actually a good way of trying to see what that like the lens has been like. So like in the late 1800s, when it was mostly Chinese bachelor society, right, when Chinese men eating at Chinese restaurants, it was just like what it was natural to them. Like there were coffee houses and banquet halls, and people would sit there and drink tea and eat little bites all day, or for many hours. In the 1840s, when China and the U.S. are buddies, that's when the Chinese restaurant businesses really increase, in customers that are non-Chinese really increase. And so then they changed their menu a little bit because the palate is different, right? People aren't used to like what Chinese people typically eat, so they changed their sweet and sour pork and fried rice and like General Tso's chicken and what else, like mushu pork or egg foo something, like all these things, like I don't really know what they are. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, that looks like something else, but like it, like to me, like I'm surprised it tastes sweet and sour or something like that. Chinatown used to be a place where lots of people from who lived close to the World Trade Towers would come here for lunch and also tourism, right? But after 9/11, there was a huge economic depression in Chinatown because people weren't coming here because they were scared to come here. So a lot of small businesses, which is a lot of what Chinatown is, closed down. So a lot of those spaces have been empty, and which now kind of lays the groundwork for galleries and other places to come in and take those spots. So places that aren't really related to the old community that's been here, right, or the population that's been here. That's part of gentrification. Lots of labor is racialized and also invisible too. So like invisibility is like something that comes from like John and Charlie Chinaman. Like, it don't matter enough for me to call you your real name. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, on official documentation, you don't need a real name. Like the John or Charlie Chinaman serves my purposes just fine. Poi Gum Lee, he's a Chinese American architect who's working between this Chinatown, so he designed a lot of buildings that are here. And he kind of like made this like Orientalist style too. And in Shanghai, he went back and forth. He was like mid 20th century. I think the point I was trying to make is that just that the exoticizing has been really intentional, so it continues to be that way. Like I eat lunch here a lot, and so I like am sitting next to tourists a lot of the times. And I hear just like ridiculous things that people think about Chinese, about Chinatown or Chinese food. One time at a restaurant, these two people who somewhere in the U.S. or North America were like, "Do you think that?" To each other, like, "Do you think they have salt and pepper here?" Right? And it's like, "Or like, do you think they have forks here?" Like things like that, right? Like they're like completely different from us, right? And like also they must not speak English, right? I think they don't play a role in the Orientalism intentionally, even though they might be complicit in that, or they might be enveloped into that. I kind of tend to think of it as a way of survival where you might not be conscious of how your body and your identity is being consumed or portrayed. So I think that some of it is survival, some of it is just participate. But I think it's very hard to tell. I think that it just depends on whose struggle or whose like the diffuse oppression and also access issues you're taking into account. I think also at some point in the 20th century, I think it might have been the 40s or 50s, all of the street lamps in Chinatown like became like the pagoda style ones, you know. So like a lot of that appearance has been intentional. In Sunset Park right now, I don't know if this is happening, but there had been plans drawn up to create like a new, like one of those really elaborate gates, like really Chinese looking, like whatever that means, right? Like with the winged roof gates that's like red and yellow and green or what, you know. And it's being called like Little Fujian because the new wave of immigrants from there are all from the southeastern region, where they speak like a different language too. This is like, Japanese people wear flip flops, so they have a hole between or a space between their big toe and second toe, and because Chinese people don't, they don't have that, right? So the Nazis at the same time were looking at the U.S. for how was the U.S. doing its racism? How was the U.S. It was inspiration for their eugenics too.
Maybe these guys. New Ming's gift shop.
I think the thing that people most often read is she's a weak lotus blossom, and her only weakness in life is a handsome white man, such as Marlon Brando. And then the dragon lady is an evil seductress, like Meanie, who's like gonna steal you or something, your soul or something, you know. And then looking at how Chinese masculinity is described, Fu Manchu. So he's a character who, if he appears in a movie, basically you know what's going to happen, and the viewer usually knows this automatically, is that he's going to steal and kill a white woman. Like, that's his role. So, like, this person that Christopher Lee plays, so, by the way, Christopher is white, so this is Yellowface, right? Yeah. This is a book, a makeup book, that teaches yellowface, blackface.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
And there's more over there. So that is automatically the role. And this is like the evil, sinister, inscrutable, like mystical, very exotic, dangerous Chinese man with a mustache. He's this trope that is very common in film and is something that like, ends up being that character in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
A fiendish plan to rule the whole world. Women programmed to kill with a passionate kiss.
Strike.
A kiss with the stinging bite of an asp.
He will become sightless, and then he will die.
Nayland Smith.
A most persistent man. He must be eliminated.
I think this came from a book, but it was a quote from the protagonist. I'm ear quoting that. And it says, the swamping of the white world by yellow hordes might well be the price of our failure. So it's really like just that Chinese people need to be like eliminated in some way.
There is a hidden world where ancient evil weaves a modern mystery.
What's going on here? Is this some kind of
magic? The darkest magic.
So Big Trouble in Little China, main character, but the man who's supposed to help everybody is Jack Burton, and he comes to town in his white truck, and it's kind of like he's being portrayed as this kind of cowboy, American cowboy, and so there are like levels of Chinatown, and he uncovers like this secret underground Chinatown, and he saves the day, and that's pretty much the whole story, really. There's like some ridiculous action. It's a dumb movie.
Yeah, and some like exotic magic stuff happening inside Chinatown.
Yeah.
And that trailer is the trailer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so like the way that Chinatown is portrayed in that movie is like ancient, this old hidden world that's deep underground. And when you look at like just the way the streets are, they're like dusty, old. If you like ran your finger on something, a lot of dust would come off of you. It's weird. Like the buildings weren't very modern.
Captain Stanley White, commander of the 5th Precinct and the most decorated cop in New York City, has declared war on Chinatown.
I got a complaint about you already.
Today there were 43 gang arrests, 3 gambling parlors raided, 6 sweatshops busted.
You were only meant to shake up the gang kids.
And now, an opening blow at the man who's been called the godfather of Chinatown, Joey Tai. Mr. Tai, can you tell us if there is such a thing as the Chinese mafia? Mr. Tai, what is your comment? Mr. Tai, do you have any comments?
Let me make this real clear to you right here and now. Joey Tai goes to the mayor goes to me, and the word is lay off. You think gambling, extortion, corruption are kosher?
What Chinese mafia? The investigation's in your mind.
These people are the biggest importers of heroin in this country.
The point here is you cease and desist.
Nobody wants to win this thing, do you?
You don't like it, resign.
Maybe everybody's right. I'm chasing something that doesn't exist.
This is not the Bronx or Brooklyn. It's not even New York. It's Chinatown, fight. It can be very easy or it can be very hard.
I saw Big Trouble in Little China. I've never seen Year of the Dragon, but just from the trailer and some of the stuff that I read, it's like it just seems like it would be really uncomfortable for me to watch because you have this guy who he's this like super hyper masculine WASP white Anglo Protestant, and he's like a self-proclaimed Chinese hater. But then on the flip side, he's like a Chinese historian, or like he knows a lot about Chinese history, which is completely absurd. And he just like asserts his dominance wherever he goes.
And declares war in Chinatown.
Yeah. He's like the most decorated officer in all of New York City. And this counterpart of his, this lady, I forget her name. It's like Tracy Sue or something. I don't remember. But she starts off as being this sort of like independent woman with a voice. She's like an anchor woman. I don't know. And at some point, like, I guess he like forces some sexual advances on her, and she all of a sudden like relinquishes that power that she had, and then she starts like doing exactly what he tells her to do, and saying on the news what he tells her to say.
I thought the part where it portrayed Chinatown as like a gangster, like full of dark market inside it, and like there's this dominant figure, a Chinese figure who controls everything and who like covers everything from these white. Is he a detective?
Yeah, he is.
So like, and I don't know if he's like an evil figure or if he's like the hero for Chinatown, or he's just like a businessman. So it's like, but still like he's countering this white guy.
Yeah, I think he's another figure that has dual roles. He kind of acts like the evil Chinese guy, and then he's also, because he's like supposed to care for his family and he's nurturing towards his community. I think that's also part of that like feminized, like family man Chinese guy, which kind of sounds like it would be nice, but still pretty negative because it still is part of like making him subhuman.
Yeah.
Either evil or subhuman,
yeah,
and not a real person.
At one point in the trailer, he talked about the fact that what he's detecting or what he's trying to do is not part of New York or Brooklyn. Like using this Chinese dominant figure and using him to say that is kind of interesting because he himself draws a line between Chinatown and the rest of New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like completely just segregated. Like like it's a whole other place.
Mm-hmm. And I think that goes back to our idea of like commodifying Chinatown, or like putting Chinatown at a podium and like people will observe it or like consume it.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of like just consuming this like facade. What was it, like ethnic theme park?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening, hot stuff?
Okay, so in 16 Candles, there's a character, Long Duck Dong, which I have to assume is not a real name. I don't know if it is, but it seems a little...
It could be a real name.
Yeah.
But I
just feel like they picked the most offensive sounding name.
Yeah.
So this guy, he's portrayed as like the asexual or creepy Chinese guy. I mean, there's like a realm within asexual where like they might have attraction, but they'll never get a girl.
Yeah.
So they're creepy. That's like almost like a sub-stereotype of being asexual. And so we have this scene where he's weird. Whatever, they make him weird. But throughout the entire movie, it's the same thing over and over again. He'll like scream weird things in the middle of like, I think it was a wedding. He gets drunk or something one time and says crazy things, and he's just perpetually like, he's the comic relief, but it's obscene. And every time they say his name, they bang a gong right after his name. Yeah, like every time.
I was suddenly thinking like if Long Duck Dong is replaced by like a blonde white guy, and like even though he's acting weirdly, like for instance, if he's like looking at this girl from the bed, or like if this girl just wake up and then he's looking at her, like it would be totally fine, right? Because he's this like blonde white male, and he's like this automatic attraction.
Yeah.
But then
exactly.
For Long Duck Dong, it's totally opposite. Like it's creepy.
Yeah, when you said that, I was thinking of like, what if he was an Italian exchange student? And like, I don't know, stereotypes of Italians or something. Like you'd think he'd be this sort of Casanova type or something, and like really sexy, and she might be drawn to him or something, and it would be a completely different movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ordinary people walk along it, and like they wear jeans, they wear heels. They're just ordinary people in a single space.
And a lot of the stores are like, it's just restaurant. I mean, it's restaurants, but it's not like touristy restaurants. There's like a lot of like actual shopping to do as opposed to souvenir shopping. This was just like a really interesting corner, or a couple of buildings, and it was like super high-end shopping and living spaces, which is different than Chinatown because a lot of those buildings are older.
Mm-hmm. We do notice there are some like newer buildings in Chinatown, but most of them are commercial. But for here, many of them are residential plus commercial on the lower floors. So I thought that I still think that Chinatown in Manhattan serves a purpose for like people who comes from the mainland China, and like they would stop by either in Flushing or in Chinatown, and they have connections in these hubs, and then they would then take off to another place like Connecticut or like Brooklyn or Queens, but like these are stops for them.
So like Chinatown is more of a centralized, or maybe it's like maybe it has further reach than maybe Flushing does, like further reach towards like other parts of the region. Flushing is sort of a midpoint between like Bayside and also where I live in Jamaica, which is like south, and then also like to get to Flushing Meadow, you have to take the 7, or I have to take the I can't even think of what bus that is right now, but I have to take the bus. So it's sort of like a transportational midpoint or hub, which also has a lot of draw for me and some of my friends because we visited it there for shopping, because it is a midpoint. It is something to like, I don't know, enjoy commercially. Also, when I was in high school, I got my tragus, which is this like little bit of meat here. I had it pierced, by like a $5 gun, like somewhere
Somewhere in Flushing.
somewhere in Flushing, and it's like the exact way that you do not want to get that pierced. Like that is the wrong way, and it was really bad. And it's like it was one of those like tiny malls where the stores are really small and they're open, they don't have doors or anything, and like it's really narrow. So it's just like a really seedy place to get my ears pierced. But I have a feeling that place doesn't exist anymore.
But do you get food there in Chinatown? I mean,
In Flushing, yeah. I normally don't eat there.
Yeah, but for me, I think a lot of my friends and they have Chinese background, and the way we think about Flushing is like a food place. Like if we come and then we will go on and compare Flushing with Manhattan Chinatown. The fact that Manhattan Chinatown is like the food is for tourists, like the spice or like the taste is much more fake.
Yeah.
Compared to food in Flushing, and like we like to joke the fact that if you live in Flushing, you cannot lose weight because you get all these amazing food for Chinese, like, and like yeah. So for me, Flushing is like a food place. Like you go like and I will go there just for food.
Yeah. And I find like that I almost never go to Chinatown. Like I'll go to Canal Street for specific stores, but I never go to Chinatown for tourism at all.
But you do go to Flushing.
I go to Flushing, yeah, but not Chinatown. I'm trying to think of, I don't know, the times that I did go, it was really like when I used to skateboard, and that was just because there were like things to skate in the area, and not because we had any money, because we didn't to like eat food. So.
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.